Hey there, viewers, and welcome back to the Self-Made Auto Channel. We've got a real treat today, a rare, super rare, never before seen on SMA pad slap, 2012 GMC Terrain. Guy just wants pads, no rotor. Suppose he's going to be junking it next year, aka trading it in. At least that's what they always tell me. Like, oh yeah, just cobble job that up because I'm getting rid of it. You know, 4 years later, you're redoing it. As a general rule, the vehicles I work on are so completely rotted that, you know, pad slapping is not an option. This one here, the rotors still look pretty decent. He has no, no complaint. The only reason we're doing it is it came in for an oil change, and I noticed his pads were getting quite low, and I just told him that on his next service, he's going to want to do brakes. He didn't like the quote. It wasn't outrageous or anything. I just quote on pads and rotors like we always do. And he wanted to know if we could just slap a set of pads on it, so I said sure. Regular push-in style pistons on this caliper. Now the pads on this side aren't horrid. The other side, they were pretty dang close, and I didn't think he's going to make it another 5,000 because he services it every 5,000 mile with the old Dexos. Sometimes I'm a little hesitant when a customer tells me they're getting rid of their vehicle. Not that I would cob job something, but sometimes, let's say, think for example, like they say, oh, I'm going to get rid of it. Don't put an expensive part on it. Let's say, for example, it comes in with a wheel bearing. And, okay, well, we'll get this wing dong wheel bearing here, and we put it on. And 2 years later, they still own the toilet, and your little Chinesian wheel bearing you put on there goes bad. Now they're pissed and they don't recall the conversation. So what I do now is what they call documentation, along with a signature, a signed repair order, which legally you have to have in New York State anyways. So I just do that, like for example in this case, what we'll do is I'll just write up the bill, pads replaced per customer request, no rotors, which is probably fine. We don't check them for minimum thickness or run out. The car's only got 40K on it, I believe. There's that. You guys can't really see. Like I say, that one's not horrible, but you just kind of cover your butt. This is the pad off the other side. She's gotten whittled down there pretty well. Alright, we're pretty much done. More just a cover your butt type thing, I guess. I think I already said that. Knock the pads out of it. And I imagine that this is probably a very common practice in the southern climates, or the climates where there is no salt. So we're just going to give her a quick little scuff off here on the brackets using an actual brake caliper file. These things are the bee's knees, the bomb diggity, the duck's nuts. I don't know if that's a saying or not, but they work well. Super aggressive. Great to go through and get the big rust chunks off. Because that's what you need to do, because this is where the problem happens. As you know, anybody who's watched one of the thousands of SMA brake job videos, I don't know if there's thousands, but there's quite a few. And of course you can use a regular file here also. Your classic rat tail double cut bastard, I call it. That would not work. You'd want a square file. Just go through, shine it up. If you hit it with a wire wheel, all it does is polish the rust. Unless you have a really aggressive one, which I don't have. So I like to go through with a file and get rid of the chunks. keeping it nice and flat and square. Sometimes you'll find they're not really square to each other, so you have to do them individually. I imagine in some states that you don't even have to pull the bracket because there's no rust underneath it. And I've found in the past, if you're pad slapping the car, we'll call it, not official name, if you try to do it with the bracket in place and you're like, oh, I'll just clean these ears off, you spend more time meddling around than you do just taking the thing off. Of course, new hardware. We're using some high quality Napper brake pads. Not a sponsor. Always get the ones that come with hardware. However, I see Napa make some $18.99 brake pads. At least that's what they sell them to me for. I think they're called True Stops. I don't think I've ever installed the set. And I do see that they are advertised with hardware. This one's a little snug. I'm not happy with that. And I know we got rid of all the rust. This side feels smooth. Sometimes in the manufacturing process, when these are sheared off, they'll leave a burr on it. This side's got a big old burr on it. You don't see that very often. At least I don't. Usually I buy the pads a little higher quality than these. I like the adaptive one pads, personally. I don't use the safety stops very often. I certainly don't use the True Stops. I call them try-and stops. There we go. And now she's smooth like butter. So, $18 brake pads. Go ahead. Try and stop. I think that might be their slogan. It's probably not. According to my Napper guy, the used car fellas really like those brake pads. So you definitely want to make sure that your pads fit and can move back and forth effortlessly just using your nubby fingers. And these ones do, so I'm happy with these. It appears that the paint coating that they put on the inside pad was much thicker because basically that's all I took off it was the paint coating. And the outer one doesn't seem to have as much paint, so I'm happy with that. Looks like she's got enough gobbledygook on it. That pin looks good, so now we'll slide around there. Got some Loctite. We're going to have to Loctite our bolts now. And here we go. I'm going to put a little blue Loctite on the hold down bolts. That way his brakes don't fall off. Because that would be bad. Nobody likes their brakes falling off. Makes for kind of a quick job, I'll tell you that. And I don't really get like, if you guys think like I'm pumped about it, I'm not pumped. I don't, you know, if somebody wants to just do pads, usually I will. However, if the rotor has, you know, significant amounts of rust and chunks, I will turn down the job at that point and be like, no, you know what, look, this thing really needs brake rotors. I mean, you guys have seen the jobs we've done. The majority of brake rotors we take off are falling apart. You know, they got big pieces missing, they're rotted to no end. You know, so in those cases, like, no, you know, I don't want to be associated with that. Or, you know, the brakes fail, or they just thump like crazy. It's like, no. It just gives you a bad name. Even if the people aren't talking this crap about you because you just did what they wanted. They're out, their buddy rides with them, say, hey, your brakes feel like crap, you should have them checked. And they're like, oh, I just had them put on at Self-Made Auto. Well, now all of a sudden, it gives you the image that you do a really crappy brake job. At least that's what I always think. Not that I care too much about what people think about me. It's just, their perception of you can be diluted by not enough information. Now I've got to go through and burp the baby. You see how the caliper boot is a little puffy right there? It's because when I push the piston in, it has some air behind it. So use your pick and just jam a hole in it. Or use your pick and keep it facing towards the piston. Work back in until you feel the edge of the seal. Lift it up a little bit. Burp the baby. And then when we have it right here, that's a little easier than burping a baby. Why? Because it's not whining and it doesn't puke on you. That reminds me of a joke. What's easier to unload? A truck full of bowling balls or a truck full of babies? Oh, a truck full of babies, you can use a pitchfork. Yeah, believe it or not, I remember a 6th grade teacher, I think, was the one that told me that joke. Of course, I thought it was pretty hilarious when I was a kid after I got it. Then I'm like, wow, there's something wrong with that dude. Oh, how times have changed. I don't think they tell jokes like that in school anymore. Because people get offended. Need their safe place. They can't tell it's a freaking joke that you don't unload babies with pitchforks. So get that on there. Snug her up. Factory specs, of course. Click. There's that. Caliper moves. We need a tire, and then we can take it for a drive, and everybody will be happy. All right, folks, that's it. I'm going to take it for a little rip around town. You guys have been on the brake route at least a dozen times. Not much has changed other than the weather. That's pretty normal. Make sure your brake fluid's full. Obviously, put your tires back on and tighten them to the point that they won't fall off. It's pretty important. What else is important is that you go down there in that comment box, leave your questions, comments, criticism, concern, any good joke you have. And just remember, viewers, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.